Good morning, everyone. I hate to be the one to tell you this, but we're all going to die. I'm hoping this isn't news to you, and if it is, sorry. That isn't for here or now, though. Despite technological advances and claims by scientists that the first undying person may have already been born, decay and decomposition are the unavoidable fate for all of our bodies. What's less certain, however, is what happens to our data. Our digital brain, body, and footprint that's been accumulating in some cases since before we were even born. I thought of this seriously for the first time in 2017 when I came across an article by Bill Coberly that had been cross-posted onto Kotaku.com. The article was titled, "After My Dad Died, He Left Behind Thousands of Hours of Civilization Save Files." In this context, Civilization refers to the series of epic-scale world-conquering strategy games that are known for being a time sink of catastrophic proportions. The opening line of the article eulogizes Bill's father, Thomas Barber Coberly, who died on May 1st, 2016. At this point in time, Facebook had already rolled out the memorial page concept, and I'd seen several of the digital mausoleums myself. So the concept of data after death had crossed my mind before, but in more of a novelty sort of way. What happened to their Neopets? Who set their last MySpace status, and was it at least something cool? Bill's article is beautifully written, and no summary within mine or anyone else's ability can express the feeling it leaves you with. He talks of the struggle in finding direction for his father's things.
What do we do with his books? Where should we send the remainder of his subscription to The Economist?
And most topically,
what do you do with all the video game save files on his computer?
His father logged 4,638 hours in Civilization 4. Spread across a 6-year period, that's about 15 hours a week. Put another way, 4,638 hours is the equivalent of working 40 hours a week, every week, for over 2 years straight. In my previous video on Eidolon, I registered about 9,000 hours in a year and a half, but the majority of those hours were passed when I was either asleep or off doing something else entirely. For Civilization, all of those hours were spent focused, present, and with intent. That is to say, Civilization 4 was a big part of Thomas Coberly's life, one he invested thousands of hours into, one he had high hopes for, one he envisioned a future with. So what do you do with it now?
I think this is because old save files serve as a sort of memorial for the amount of time we spend playing the game. Some kind of proof that I didn't just waste all that time fiddling with plastic in front of a monitor. Even if I can't point to some physical thing I built as a result of those hundreds of hours, the save file exists. But none of Dad's save files hold any particular meaning for me, in and of themselves. I don't even know yet how many save files there are. Did he keep only the games he was particularly proud of? Did he keep everything? Or is it just the games from the last few months? Games he hadn't quite finished yet and was meaning to get back to. It doesn't feel reasonable to just store all of it somewhere and never look at it. Even so, I can't bring myself to just erase it all. I don't want to annihilate all traces of those 4,600 hours of hard work. If your dad built model planes or fixed old cars or painted, you would keep at least some of those objects he created, right? But somehow, I don't think I can load up a game of Civ 4 for my kids and show it to them as something Grandpa made. They can't hold the Civ Empire in their hands and know he touched it, or wonder what it looked like before the paint peeled off.
I remember in middle school talking about how fucking sick it would be to one day show our kids, or even our grandkids, our Pokemon Blue game cartridges, to show them our max level Clefairies. We all had Clefairies for some reason. Won't that be awesome? 30 years from now? Turns out, nope. My generation's first encounter with real-life shattering data loss was usually the result of this battery right here. Before memory chip technology had advanced sufficiently, a constant supply of power was necessary in order to retain information, hence the need for a battery. But what do batteries do? After an average estimated lifespan of 10 to 15 years, all evidence of your childhood joy and accomplishment is wiped from existence. Now nobody will ever believe you actually were the Pokemon champion. In a moment, it's all become a memory made for one, never to be fully shared or witnessed again. Evidence of that experience can only ever be yours, intangibly. To someone who's carried a pocket cosm of their imagination and nostalgia in the back of their head all this time, it can feel like losing a part of yourself. It's a place in your childhood you thought you'd always be able to return to at any point, only to get to the gates and see that the town's vanished into the horizon. The past is no longer present. I know firsthand 2 separate times during my college years when friends waged war against their roommates under the assumption they had deleted the save data from their dust-accumulating nostalgia monument. Often, the rage became denial, became bargaining, became depression, became yet another argument because, dude, you haven't even played the game in like 10 years. Does it really matter that much? Aren't you placing too much value on fragile things easily eroded by the gentle hands of time? Or whatever the roommate could have hypothetically supposedly said. Also during college, I was a working boy, and I flipped a lot of video games. Of course, as an honest man, I always made sure every game was functional before I listed it for sale. There were so many save files, so many personal storylines and crusades, left there either by choice or circumstance, and now I was the determiner of their fate. I always chose to leave the save files intact. To do so otherwise just felt needlessly cruel, like destroying a part of someone's childhood. 2 files stand out in my memories to this day, both of them from Pokemon games. In one, the player saved the game right before making their choice of starting Pokemon, at the very start of the game. They had played no more than 3 minutes, put down the game, and never picked it up again. The other save file etched into my brain was from the other end of the experience spectrum. They'd acquired every gym badge and defeated the Elite Four and then just stopped. Right there, and not a pixel further. The image forever frozen at the peak of glory, a digital statue of a fighter in their prime. The zenith had been reached, and there was nothing more the game could offer to keep them entertained. For both examples, these chronicles were almost certainly immediately wiped by the following owner. Game Boy cartridges only allowed 1 save file, you see. Yet they remain in my memory, with me not as a participant, but just a witness. And now it's a game of memorial telephone as I share the thought with you. It's a type of ghost story that doesn't come up in conversation often. There's a comic I found in the comments section of Bill's Kotaku article that basically forms the sibling thought to everything I've shared so far. I hope you're not too bummed out, because it's not going to get any better. Thankfully, I've accrued enough internet popularity points that I can ask incredibly beautiful and strong women to be part of my videos, and they eagerly say yes. So I asked famous internet moth girl Emmy to handle the next section for me.
It was fun for a while. Me and my brother played it for about a month and then I got tired of it. No, it's not appropriate. Okay, let's take this seriously. I need to lock in. Okay. Right. About 2 years ago, I bought the game Animal Crossing. It was fun for a while. Me and my brother played it for about a month and then got tired of it. I'm always trying to convert my parents to video games, however, and thought that Animal Crossing would be simple enough for them to get into. I let my mum set up a house, and she soon got into the game in a big way. As a kid, she had polio, and now she had multiple sclerosis. She was largely homebound, except for the once or twice when she'd either leave to go shopping or to church. Spending all day at home in a wheelchair bored her, so the relief Animal Crossing provided her with was kind of amazing. She'd spend so much time playing it that it became something of an obsession. She played it so much that she was constantly getting kidded by the family. She paid off her house in game, she collected all the fossils, etc. And whenever I saw her playing, I thought that the game must have long since stopped being interesting to her, yet she kept playing, even after me and my brother had long since stopped. Her condition got progressively worse, and eventually she stopped playing. And about a year ago, she passed away. I'd forgotten about Animal Crossing. I hadn't played it in over a year and a half. Today, however, I decided to visit the village again and see what was up. Weeds had grown everywhere, and the villagers wondered where my mum and I had gone. Then I came to my mailbox. It was full of letters with presents, all from my mum. Every letter was pretty much the same. Even though I'd stopped playing, she continued to send me presents. I look back now at how I made fun of her for playing even after she'd done everything, and I realise now that she was probably spending her time getting presents for me. Anyway, I know it's probably cheesy, but I was just amazed at how much this affected me and I thought I'd share. Show your parents as much love as you can, whilst you still can, guys.
Don't you feel better after that? I don't. The part that sticks out to me like a sore in your mouth that might one day heal if only you could leave it alone, that part is, do any of our attempts at preservation actually matter? All data is destined for the same binary grave, whether by the literal decay and destruction of its physical body, the obsolescence of its language, or hell, even the fading of the very electrostatic charges that compose the data itself. Though modern memory cards and game cartridges aren't powered by batteries, they still do require an electric charge in order to maintain and keep that data stored. Recently, there was a bit of a kerfuffle online when people remembered this, since solid-state drives can start losing data as soon as 1 year after they were last given power. This is reportedly already happening to some Nintendo DS and 3DS games, so I would recommend checking them if you have any. Mechanical hard drives won't suffer the same fate, though they are much more physically fragile. Going back to other mediums, tapes and cassettes can reportedly last up to and over 30 years in ideal conditions in which almost no cassettes or tapes are ever stored or used. Blank discs of the CD and DVD variety can last about 10 years if you're lucky, and the professionally printed discs can last about the same as a tape or cassette in those impossible ideal conditions. Just be hopeful that the physical dye layers in those discs haven't already started to degrade due to natural processes, an issue that's quickly becoming more common. In early 2025, Warner Brothers had to issue a statement regarding this so-called disc rot after over 300 titles in their catalog between the years of 2006 and 2009 are experiencing this decay faster than anticipated. Fellow YouTuber, the damn fool idealistic crusader, who looks like Adam Scott's Severance double, was one of the first to bring this issue to mainstream discussion, and he is one of the sources of the more comprehensive lists of effective titles. If you have a DVD movie collection of a decent size, chances are there's at least one playable disc that's been made unplayable by no fault of your own. Just go buy a new copy, someone might say. Blu-rays have been out for like a bajillion years and have several more pixels of definition. Well, there's also a good chance you can't do that either. Some estimates put the amount of VHS titles that were eventually re-released on DVD at somewhere around 20 to 40% of all titles. The amount of DVD titles that have received the Blu-ray treatment is estimated to be about 15 to 30%, even lower. The VHS format was introduced in Japan in 1976, and the United States the following year, 1977. The Blu-ray format was released in 2006, only 30 years later. In only those 3 decades, a title would have an average survival chance of 7%. That's a 93% fatality rate just spread across 2 generations of physical media. Can you imagine what the numbers look like going back even further? Well, you can't. There wasn't really a home video format before the VHS. If you'd say to me, hey, bro, lest you forget about the Laserdisc, well, those were released in 1978 as DiscoVision, and then later rebranded to Laserdisc in 1980. Both dates are after the 1976 premiere of the Viz. If you go, well, what about digital media? The case there is a bit better, but estimates still place the amount of orphan media from VHS to digital to be about 80%. In other words, only 1 out of every 5 titles is now available digitally. It is, of course, much easier to make a digital copy of something. Keyboard shortcuts are muscle memory to most of my generation, but even that duty of duplication decays. The so-called Xerox effect is named after the unavoidable deterioration of images that have been photocopied, and the principle is the same for digital information as it's endlessly compressed and encoded, a soul translated across generations and forced from husk and husk again and again until nothing but static remains. Even the cloud isn't safe, of course. Those are just storage drives kept in someone else's house. The drives can still fail, there can still be natural disasters. Hell, a plumbing leak can drip onto a server bay and wipe out every memory you've stored for the past 12 years. My generation was always told to be careful. The internet is forever. Once something's there, it's there forever. But, as you've surely found out in your own life by now, this couldn't be further from the truth. Throughout the making of every video, I've come across multiple dead ends that were severed only because the web hosting bill eventually came due. Nobody ever expected to have to pay to maintain their digital real estate. How many websites do you remember that are now gone forever, save the occasional phantom revived by the Wayback Machine?
It's not one person's memory that is like lost. It's like it's information that's been lost, you know? And information is valuable, you know? And that freaks me out in like that, because things exist only digitally, they can effectively be poofed out of existence, you know? And information is valuable, like I said. And so the fact that we can lose it so quickly is weird. And it comes to this idea that, yeah, it'll be there forever. We had that so instilled in us that now the reality that no, actually, it's not going to be forever. And if you didn't download it at the time, it's now gone, is almost disturbing in a way. Whereas, you know, you can lose a book and you can like get a new copy, you know, or a magazine that's out of print. You could probably go back through like archives, like physical archives, to find that information. Some random web page that maybe thousands of people experience, but no one thought would ever go away because everything on the internet lasts forever, is gone. And there's nothing. Information can just be erased like that, and you'll never ever ever get it back.
What about the people you've known only through their digital presence? What happens when they're gone, but that media remains? What happens when that digital lifetime is still there, but they aren't? When Trevor Moore of the comedy group The Whitest Kids You Know died unexpectedly several years ago, it was the first time I'd felt palpable grief from the loss of a celebrity. But I hadn't really lost anything. Every single interaction I'd had with him was still there. Every podcast appearance, every episode of their sketch comedy show, every moment of his iconic 24-hour broadcast where viewers were given actual instructions on making crystal meth.
Now, if you were making crystal meth, you'd have acetone,
which we're not,
alcohol,
right? But we're not doing that, and we don't need
hydrous ammonia, battery acid.
It's all still there. Every bit of media that I knew Trevor from is still right there. Yet I got the keys to my house the day after his death. Literally about 12 hours separated the two events. And I didn't find out until the evening when I was mostly finished unpacking for the day and sat down to check the internet. I sat and I wept because I instantly had the recognition that the walls of my home, or any home thereafter, would never know his voice as a live broadcast. They would only ever know echoes of the past from a man I had grown up alongside and never met. Truly still, it feels like there's less humor in the world. There's an aspect to the journal concept of funniness that has noticeably dimmed across all bands of my perception. But the only thing I've actually lost is the potential for the future. According to the account of others in the neighborhood, my house was built by one man, who lived in it with his family until he entered hospice and then eventually passed on. Because everything was done by him across the stages of his life, there are quirks that I've noticed that are unique to just him. I've seen the way things have been arranged in place, and I've thought to myself, I see what he was thinking there. One of the biggest challenges for me has been to figure out what to do with the pole barn that he built and left behind. It was used both as a storage place for their RV unit, as well as his workshop for woodworking or assembling whatever needed fixed or implemented for the house. The property was left mostly unattended to for somewhere around 18 months between when the builder entered hospice and when I moved in. And in that time, the roof has grown holes and started leaking, paneling on the inside is rotten and warped, and thousands and thousands and thousands of spiders have made their homes in the nooks and crannies. Recently, I decided I'd had enough of letting the arachnids claim my space as their own. They don't even help with the property tax, man. And so I started cleaning up and really paying attention to what the building needed. I spent a whole day with the shop vac sucking up spider webs and leaves, dust and dirt. The whole time, I paid closer attention to the garage than I ever had before. One thing I'd never noticed before is that right by the door, a pencil sharpener is installed on its own isolated wood block. Whether it was installed that way due to being a late addition or as a sign of importance, I can never know. I opened the shavings bay of the pencil sharpener and was surprised when it wasn't empty. More than that, it was crammed full of shavings that could now be nearing a decade old, if not older. The wind was blowing that day. Some blew away just from me opening the sharpener. I took a step outside and emptied it into the breeze. His wife had passed before him, but he was still survived by 2 sons. Did they know their father's pencil sharpener was still filled? Were those the shavings that preempted his last work? His last holiday card? Is that where he sharpened his pencil before he wrote his will? Would they even care? Would it evoke any feeling at all to know those shavings were given to the wind to do with them as it wished? There's pegboard tucked between the furnace and the window, and in any light you can still see the clear outline of where some of his tools used to sit. There's a calendar by the door, for the year of my birth, and next to it is a clipping from the warranty paper for something that has surely expired by now. A lifetime warranty that lived up to its name, I suppose. In the attic, tucked inside a pool of vermiculite, I found a photograph of a man posing in front of rows of bombs, and I wonder if that was him being cringe. In the same attic, his dog tags still hang. The first time I saw them there gave me pause, but I've never once thought to remove them. I've never met the man, but I still remember him. I have this recurring dream that haunts even my waking hours, wherein, while cleaning or otherwise performing maintenance on the house, I discover that there is an entire section that I've never been aware of. It's never just a room or two. It's never something like a shed. It's always an addition the size of an entirely separate house. Sometimes they're attached. Sometimes there's a little path between the two. But when I get inside, it's always the same. It always looks lived in, but still sections and rooms will be overgrown with weeds and vines. There are always broken windows and the whitest of linens blowing out of them. It always feels lonely. Though I have on more than one occasion found small cubbies or hiding spots in the house, obviously something so House of Leaves has never and can never happen. I just can't shake the feeling that there's something missing. Or, more accurately, it's like there's something the house wants me to remember. There is a surprising amount of things left behind by the family. The collection of electric shavers in the bathroom drawers, the framed photographs and art tucked away in the basement, the full box of neatly packed dishes in the attic. If all the things I know were taken, why were these the things that were left behind? Why not just toss them out? I'd be curious just to overhear the conversation that happened wherein that was decided, because otherwise who can ever know? Truly, how much of your life is a memory made for one? How much of your thoughts and experiences and memories will you forever keep to yourself? How many important and formative experiences will never even be considered by another soul on this earth? Something I don't talk about much is that I'm an author. I don't talk about it because it was during middle school and the books are not good, amounting to nothing more than bad fan fiction about my friends. But any time this was brought up to someone, there was a solid chance they would lean towards me and say with complete sincerity, "If you want a real story, you should write a book about my life." Which, first of all, write your own fucking book. I'm 12. But it would almost always be followed up with something to the effect of, "You wouldn't believe the life I've lived, or the things I've seen, or the stuff I've been through." But as a child and even now as an adult, I want to believe. I want to know your story. I want to carry it with me and I want it to live on. A few times I pressed back, telling the person, "Okay, sure, I'd love to. Where should we start? What's the craziest thing?" Every time, the deer would find itself in the headlights and be made mute. Instantly sheepish and aware of having their laundry committed to ink and paper for others to witness, their claims would wither and fade. "Oh, it'd take me too long to get into," was a common response. But ultimately, within the spectrum of truth, all of these people were right. Each and every person has lived decades of unique thoughts, experiences, and traumas, and there were surely details in every individual story that would be hard to believe. Everyone has key moments in the myth of their own life. Everyone cares about their own character arc the most. Surely, a lot of these stories would be filled with dull minutia and repetition. Surely, the big impactful moments and stories were relayed and told to others, friends and family, strangers and eavesdroppers. Surely, these tales and fables fade and float away, like so many of our other remembrances. Every person you've ever passed on the street is an ever-foxing tome of stories and memories, the pages warping more each day. How many unbelievable tales have been lost forever? It's impossible to count, truly. It's nigh impossible to even estimate. This permanent impermanence is probably what's plagued me the most in my adult life, knowing that eventually the void in my thoughts will destroy and consume everything that I've ever loved. And if we only truly die when our name is spoken for the last time, it will devour the legacy of my existence all the same. To be perfectly honest, it fucks me up. It's a gnarled root of nihilism that ruins my mood whenever my thoughts are unfortunate enough to catch their foot on it. There is so much, and yet there is nothing at all. I don't have first-hand memories of my grandparents. I've heard stories from my parents and my older brother, but that's still one game of telephone between the truth and myself. Yet I put so much value in remembering the story of the tornado that my dad lived through when he was young. The one that blew out the windows of his school and sent shooting shards of glass through the air into his forehead to leave a scar that's there still to this day. I twist myself into sickness at the thought of forgetting the time I surprised my mom with a frog at one of our family reunions. The frog that leapt from my hands to her head, onto her plate of food, and then away into the distance. All the while, my Aunt Mary screamed like this was an omen foretelling the bombing of her local Walmart by ISIS. Sometimes, I wonder if I think about these things more than they do. How can you ever actually share yourself with someone without being able to share your memories verbatim? How can someone truly know you without knowing the layout of your bedroom when you were young? The smell of the air when you felt alive for the first time? How can you sincerely believe you know someone without knowing the feel of their favorite sweater that's long since been lost? Without having been there with them at their brother's funeral and feeling it when the room went quiet? A third of a lifetime later, I contacted Bill about the piece that started all of this. At first, he told me to leave him alone or he would shoot me dead. Then I realized I had the wrong person, but I was able to find the right Bill. In the end, the hard drive and accompanying computer were passed along family members, ending with his aunt who may still have it somewhere, but it's been so long, who knows? Before they were passed on, his sister logged on to finish one of his incomplete games, only to find none. When it came to Civilization 4, Thomas Coberly left no business unfinished. His sister started a new game on his profile, choosing his favorite leader and following through on finishing the game. In Bill's own words, it was a very "the king is dead, long live the queen" moment. We're all just hunting ghosts. In Stephen King's memoir On Writing, he opens by saying his recollections aren't clear photographs. They're all just snapshots, slightly out of focus. Yet making new memories and remembering the old sometimes feel like etching someone's likeness into the dust on your wall. All the while, a demolition crew waits just outside. I don't know what the conclusion to this video should be. I don't know why I feel like cutting myself open is the best way to make a point and forge a connection with you. The past is always with us, but we can never go back. I don't think that'll ever stop me from trying, though. I don't see why it should. When you're in hell, keep going. The only way out is through.
Ready!